Welcome back. Welcome back to An Athlete's Journey. I'm your host, Travis Reed. Today, I got a special guest, somebody who I just met recently, but is a good person, somebody who I kind of admire. He doesn't know it, but I kind of admire his business savvy and what he's doing right now. Super successful. We got some things coming up together pretty soon. So I definitely wanted to get him on the show because his story and his journey is one of great success and some things for people to listen to because everybody wants to see the NBA star or the baseball star or whatever the case is, but you got to see what happens, how successful people do if they don't make it to the top. So his journey is one that he's been greatly as far as an athlete and great as far as a person and individual business wise. So definitely want to say thank you. It's going to be a pleasure to interview you. And please introduce yourself to the people.
Well, Travis, thanks for having me. My name is Damon Lembi, and I am the CEO of Learn It. And Learn It is a corporate training company. We're based out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I live in Sausalito, California, up north. I know you're down south. Mm-hmm. And I've been running Learn It for about 28 years.
Well, no. And like I said, Sausalito, for people that don't know, is a very, very nice area. Yeah, in Northern California. I lived in Sacramento for a minute, so I know Sausalito, I've heard of it, so you got to be doing pretty good.
Hey, it's a beautiful place. It's a little expensive, so it keeps me on my toes. Oh. Travis keeps me on my toes. Two little kids and living in Sausalito definitely keeps me on my toes, but I'm grateful and blessed to be able to live in this area.
Oh my God. Yeah. Look, I had a friend whose family lives in, Palo Alto, mm-hmm. up there. And they lived in like the outskirts of Oakland, I want to say.
Okay.
Oakland? And like their rent was like $4,500 a month for like a 3-bedroom. I said, I thought Southern California was wow. Northern California is off the chain expensive. Wow.
Well, I don't know. I've my family was in the real estate business for a while. I don't know exactly what it is right now, but it wouldn't be unheard of to pay $3,200 for a 1-bedroom in San Francisco without parking. Parking.
That's insane. So, like I said, that's insane. Yeah. So I know, like I said, San Francisco, they obviously is one of the higher paying cities. I know that for sure because just the price, the cost of living is so ridiculous. But we can go about that one, another day. But we're gonna get right into your journey. So, how did your baseball journey start?
So, my baseball journey started growing up in the peninsula, in the San Francisco Peninsula, the San Mateo County. We played all our sports growing up. Baseball, football, basketball, soccer, and I was really fortunate. I had a core group of friends: Fred Wolfgram, Dan Toothman, Dave Chesnowski, and great families. And we'd always be out on the sports field. We weren't inside screwing around. We were always out playing sports. And I would say around my sophomore year, I realized that if I was going to play at the next level, I had a much better chance. I was lucky. I played varsity baseball and basketball all 4 years in high school. But, I think it was my sophomore year in high school. I hit a home run one day and I was rounding the bases. And I said, if I'm going to make it to the next level, 6'2", couldn't really jump. So I didn't have much of a career in basketball, I thought. So, and so I decided to go the baseball route. And I was really fortunate after my senior year in high school, I got drafted by the Atlanta Braves in the 13th round. And it was really my first tough decision. Do I go in as a 17-year-old and start minor leagues, or I took take a full ride scholarship to Pepperdine? And my parents were cool. They're like, hey, you know what? This is your choice. You figure out what you want to do. We'll support you either way. And I decided on going to Pepperdine. And I went there, came out of high school as a high school All-American, went to Pepperdine, really excited. But you know what? A little intimidated too. I could talk about that more because it was a great learning lesson for me. I got hurt and we didn't have the transfer portal or anything back then. I left, went to a JC called College of San Mateo, Pepperdine wins the College World Series, which is crazy. The year after I leave, small D1 school at the time for it, played a couple of years for a legendary coach named John Nochi. Then I moved over I got drafted late by the Yankees. But I got a full ride to Arizona State, played there, got to play in the College World Series, which was an amazing opportunity for me, Travis, and hit a home run in the World Series. And I was getting ready to, get drafted and get another shot. Didn't get drafted, really, kind of let down and surprised. And I chose not to do the independent ball route, which, my dad was kind of pissed at me for not doing that. And then I just kind of started my work career. And that's where that was basically, in a nutshell, my baseball journey.
Okay. Now, I guess we're going to rewind back a little bit of time. So when I played, we had this thing called AAU basketball, obviously for basketball growing up. Did you play in was there a baseball, like Little League and all that stuff growing up? Did you kind of pick up the game a little bit later to be successful as you were?
Yeah, I mean, I actually played AAU. But remember, this was back in the late '80s for basketball. I played AAU, and I think it was like in the first couple of years that it was probably even going. So it wasn't anywhere as near as popular as it is now. And at least back then, it was more like you just played all the sports, where I think today a lot of people are specializing, which I'm not a big fan of. I mean, I'm curious. I want to hear what you think about specializing, but we played everything. And for me, for baseball, I played like Joe DiMaggio League. And then, I played on a couple of teams that I got to go travel to Korea and play and stuff like that. So they didn't have equivalent really for AAU. I think they probably do now for baseball, but I did play on a bunch of traveling teams and all-American teams, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I got you. As far as me playing different sports, I'm all for it. Like you said, people wonder why these young kids are getting hurt all the time.
Burnt out.
Yeah, and these Zions and Lonzo Balls, because everybody are playing basketball, and they're playing like hard basketball since they're 8, 9, 10, 11. And AAU has become basically like professional basketball. When I played AAU, you travel a couple places basically. High school was different. But let's just say AAU growing up, like you played in Vegas, that was the big tournament.
Okay.
And then you played in the regionals, which was in California, to get to the nationals. And the nationals obviously were the best teams in, every state, whoever won their, thing. Now I played with this team called ARC with Jason and Jaron Collins. They both played in the NBA, multiple years. So we won both my years. I played, so we went to the nationals. But I also played baseball growing up. I also played football. Now football, I played all the way up to about 8th grade. I was playing wide receiver. I caught the ball and somebody hit my leg, and my dad was like, "Oh, stop! Stop! That's it, no more." So I quit, or got forced to quit after that. My dad was like, "Oh no, we ain't chancing basketball for you trying to play a hobby." At that time. But yeah, I definitely think that kids are, like my son, he plays high school basketball, but he didn't play like the AAU growing up, and I kind of liked it that way.
Yeah,
because I see how these kids are. They're traveling from California to Texas to Florida to like I said, they're NBA teams.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. It's like, I just think you're going to get burnt out. Like you said, injured and also burnt out. I have these parents who come to me and they're like, "Hey, you know what? I want my kid to be like you. I want him to get a D1 scholarship to Arizona State or whatever." So I got a hitting coach, I got a pitching coach, I got playing on 19 traveling teams. I don't have the heart to tell them the kid probably won't even make it on a high school team. But my recommendation for these parents are, let the kids go out and explore and try all the different sports. Do gymnastics. Lynn Swan, the great wide receiver, was famous for doing gymnastics and stuff. But just go out, try everything, see what the kid is excited about, and then I guess specialized later on. But I think that even in like 8th grade and early high school, I mean the world's changed with NIL and everything, but I just think it's good to get out there and play different sports, use different muscles, and develop.
No, I 100% agree with you. I think that what we do as parents, sometimes we see a kid has talent in one thing or the other, and then we just, oh, so you have talent in basketball? Okay, I'm gonna get you trainers. I'm gonna get you this. I'm gonna get you that.
Totally. Yeah.
And I'm gonna play you on the best AAU team. Like AAU back when I was playing, and then AAU now, it's just a different type of thing. It's not the same. It's more about the money and sponsorships and things like that. So all the players just kind of gang up on one team, and they wonder why the NBA players all want to be on, join
The
up.
Lakers.
Yeah, yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's because like when we were growing up, you had to compete. There was different teams. You stayed on these teams. You had to compete. Now it's like, well, we're gonna just grab this guy, this guy, this guy, and just put us all on one team
And just dominate.
And so it's not the case where it was. And so for me, I just, I wish that, AAU wasn't as big as it got. Maybe it calmed down, so we would take more emphasis on high school basketball and not this prep stuff. Every school is like prep this, prep school this. I'm not a fan of it, but hey, to each his own. I can't knock it. So
Yeah, you just do what you can.
yeah. So back to you.
Yeah.
Now you said you were an All-American in high school, right? And you got drafted.
Long time ago.
Yeah. Hey, you All-American, All-American.
Yeah.
So, what would you say your most memorable moment in high school was?
My most memorable moment in high school, and this is kind of funny, sports wise, is my first game on the varsity basketball game. We were, our varsity team was 0-6, and they called me up from the frost off for the first Winter League tournament against a team called Jefferson in the city. And Jefferson was stacked. They had great players, guys by the name of like Brian Thomason and Dontrell Marshall, who I think, they played D1 at Hawaii and different places. And they were planning on just running us. Like you guys shouldn't even be the gym against us, little Burlingame High School. And it was my first game, and I remember I scored 22 points and we lost in the last second in overtime.
Wow.
So out of all, nobody thought we even belonged. And out of all my sports career, it was literally my first basketball game. It was like one of my most memorable moments in high school. We almost beat them. Unfortunately, we went out to be like 2-25 that year. So
well, I could understand that.
we came out of the gates hot, and Jefferson didn't take us serious. We almost beat them, and I remember Brian Thomason at the top of the key hit a jumper with like 7 seconds left to beat us in overtime.
Oh wow, wow. Okay, I respect that. I figured you might go like something in baseball, but hey, basketball, 22 points is great. That's a great memory.
As a freshman, first game off the bench.
So. No, that's beautiful. That's a heck of a story. Now I do. Do you remember like the difference of like college baseball compared to your high school baseball after your first year in college?
Yeah, I'm sure it was probably similar to you a little bit, but when you're in high school, you're like the best guy in the city, in the friggin' county.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into college, you get D1, and like everybody's the best player in the city and the county, and it's a next level. And I was away from home. I was a little intimidated, kind of worried about whether or not I even belonged. And for me, I'm not afraid to admit it, it was a big adjustment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And like you said, like when I went to UCLA, I was quote unquote one of the best players in the state, California. Yeah. And then I went to UCLA where everybody was best players in the state, in the country. The guys were the best, I was, so, I went there in 2 years of going there. It was about 8 or 9 NBA players in those 2 years, that played on the team. So my second year was probably my best. The most talented team I've ever been on. We had 5 NBA players and then 4 guys who played overseas. So out of the 13 guys, we had 9 professional players on the team. So
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, yeah. And that was
UCLA.
a team, that got upset in the first round. So yeah,
I mean,
talent. Yeah.
UCLA's got a like the most unbelievable reputation in history with Wooden and everything. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I agree. So let me ask you this: what was the hardest thing from college to your, from high school? What was the hardest thing that you had to make adjustment to?
Well, what I think a great story I recall like it was yesterday was, so we're in fall practice at Pepperdine. I'm coming in as like, the starting third baseman, preseason All-American. And I got off really, I was really timid and things didn't go out. And I had this coach, Travis, his name is a Hall of Fame coach. He won 2 World Series, one Pepperdine and one with Arizona, Andy Lopez. And at our first one-on-one sit down with me, probably a month into the fall ball, he said, "Hey, Damon, when we brought you on, I thought you would be a great hitting, solid third baseman, D1." And he's like, "Quite honestly, I think we made a mistake." And Travis, I'm sitting there like, shit, what am I gonna, you know what I mean? Like how fast am I gonna get out of here? Do I get on the plane? Can my mommy pick me up? Who knows?
Right.
And so he just kind of sat there, and then he said, "You know what? That's not what I think. That's what you think. That's what you think about yourself." He's like, mentally, he's like, "I think you have all the tools. You can hit, you could throw, you could be a great third baseman, but it doesn't matter what I think about you. It matters what you think about you. And so you need to be the one who can step up and believe in yourself, that you deserve to be here. And that's what's going to make a difference." And I would like to tell you that I just immediately turned it around. I didn't. I got hurt, but eventually I took what Andy Lopez said, and that's what got me to be successful at Arizona State, is when I was able to believe in myself, put all the other stuff aside, and make things happen. That was a tremendous learning lesson for me. At first here I am, 18 years old. I'm like, oh man, this guy's just basically telling me I'm terrible. At first, but that's just my perception that I thought of myself.
That makes sense. Sometimes coaches, it's weird, they use kind of brutal tactics in a way to make you figure out how to, how to deal with certain things. So yeah. Okay, so what was your greatest triumph and your greatest failure in college? Obviously, you had a illustrious career in college. So what would you say your greatest triumph and your greatest failure was?
I think, well, first of all, when I left junior college to go to Arizona State, a lot of people I knew said, "You don't want to go to Arizona State. They're going to have 15 first basemen. You're just going to be left behind." And I said, "Screw it. I'm going to give it 100%. Right." And I've kind of learned, how to get over the imposter syndrome by what I learned. What I did was I was the first guy on the field, the last guy to leave every day. I worked really hard, put in the extra, repetitions. I really focused. My second step was I really focused on getting things done. And third, I kind of let it go. I said, I'm not going to worry about what other people think. I'm just going to go out there. I'm going to bust my ass. If this doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But at least I know that I gave it my best shot. And really, Travis, that's what I've kind of used. I got a funny story for a sec, but that's what I've kind of used so I would say my greatest triumph was not only just making the team, but then being the starting first baseman, getting the support of all the other players, on the team. And I ended up number 2 in hitting that year, second in the league in hitting. But my individual triumph that was really great was in the College World Series. We had this legendary coach named Jim Brock, who's pretty hard ass, and he was dying of cancer, and he came and he was on the field with us, we're playing the first game on CBS. Remember, this was before the internet and everything, and he didn't have much to go, and we were much left to live, and we're playing Miami in game 1 in Rosenblatt Field in Omaha. So my first time up, I got guys on second and third. I strike out. I'm like, shit, this is not going well. I mean, I don't want it to be one of these days. And then, you know how it is, like missing 2 free throws early on. So my next time up, I get up there and I hit a ball in the gap, and I see the outfielder run and hit the wall, and I can't tell if he caught it, if he missed it, but I didn't see the ball anywhere. And so I was just, I wasn't a fast runner, but I'm just running as fast as I could around first and second, which is not very fast. And I can see my third base coach is like, Damon, slow down. You're all right. It went out of the park, and he's like, as I was running, he's like, you hit a home run in the College World Series. Enjoy it, enjoy it. And so I get home, I get to home plate. Then after the game, I'm leaving, and Coach Brock, somebody says, hey, Coach Brock wants to talk to you. And so he's sitting in his chair, pale as can be. So he comes over and he's like, lean down. So I lean down, and he says, he goes, that home run you hit in the third inning or fourth inning? I said, yeah. And he's like, that was the ugliest fucking home run trot I've ever seen in my life. And he looked at me, and then he just looked away. Didn't even say anything else. He just looked at me, told me how ugly my home run trot, looked away. And then Travis, last I ever saw him, the next day they checked him into the hospital, and he died the following day.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But what a courageous guy to be out there to the end, And I'll never forget him. And I don't know if I'm supposed to swear here or not, but what a great thing. So that was something I'll never forget.
No, I can understand that. I think he passed away seeing what he loved to do, loved to do most, or what loved to watch the most, which is baseball. And one more joke for the road is always good.
Yeah. And he just told me, and then he just looked away like, okay, it's time for you to go. But he learned so much, from, it was such a great experience.
No, definitely. What would you say the biggest lesson you learned in college?
The biggest lesson I learned in college was, if I had to do it over again, I would have focused more on my studies. I got through, but and it's amazing because now I'm in the education world. My whole career, and for anybody who's in college or it's just take it serious. Take it serious, and don't waste your time. And just because you're going to need what you learn there later on in your career. So that's probably and enjoy it though. Enjoy it. I always tell. I talked to this guy who is a sales guy. He said he just graduated from SC, a water polo player. And I said, you should have stayed in college a couple more years, and have some fun. He's like, I know, but enjoy it while you're there. And then once you get in the real world, you're in the real world.
Agreed. I 100% agree with you on that, All right. Well, based on your experience, you had a heck of a, like I said, career of like sports. And based on your experience, what would be your best advice for the next generation of people like yourself?
So I recently wrote a book called the Learn It All Leader: Mindset, Tools, and Traits. And it's about how I model my leadership after my leadership style from people like Andy Lopez. The other coach I had is John Nochi, and Coach Brock. I lost I lost touch with Andy Lopez for a long time, 30 years. But I caught up with him when my book came out. I went out to Tucson. I gave it to him, and he said, he called me up 2 weeks later, and he's like, "Hey, Lembi, that book you wrote, that could help other athletes. It's like your story is what." He's like, "I wish I had that." He's like, how many times it doesn't have to be just a baseball player. It could be a tennis player or a women volleyball player. They call me up and they say, "Coach, my career's over with. What do I do now?" And so for me, what I learned is, like, when my career ended, I was disappointed. I was like, I thought I was going to keep playing. I thought I was going to have a shot. I always thought you keep playing until you're not good enough to play anymore, right? And I didn't get drafted, and maybe I should have went the independent route, but I decided that was time for me to move on. And I was just, I didn't know if I had the skills, right? And so, but what I have to say out there to the athletes who are making this journey from sports into the business world is, first of all, if I can do it, you can do it. And you have so many transferable skills. so many skills that you learn playing basketball or soccer, even at the high school level, but especially at the college or pro level. You know work ethic. You know how to collaborate and play on a team. You have the competitive drive that athletes have. Athletes also know how to take care of themselves, right? You have to, which is important. And then also, Travis, athletes know how to learn. You know what I mean? When you have to do things, you got to learn. You have to have that learning agility. So there's so many of those skills that you can translate from sports into being an entrepreneur, or like in my company, I would say 15% of my staff, just by chance, are ex D1 athletes. On the sales, they're women volleyball players and ex baseball players, and we have quite a few swimmers. And it's kind of that athlete mentality of like in baseball, you fail 7 out of 10 times, you can be a millionaire. So
Agreed.
It's all about dealing with failure and getting up and doing it again and everything. So that's really my, for the athletes out there listening to this, hey, yeah, maybe that part of your life's over with. You shouldn't let that be your total identity. That's not you. There's more to you than just that, but you can take what you learned and you can put it into the business world or whatever world you want to go on. So, and a lot of these athletes are so young. I mean, even if you play a couple of years in Europe, let's say, and you're 28 or 30, right? Or whatever, you got a long time left. You got another 25, 30 years to be really productive in the business world. So make that transition and believe in yourself.
I agree with you on that. Now, we're going to go like a little bit back to the end of your career. And obviously you said you didn't get drafted, and you said you went to the business field. Now, people say that they kind of know when to hang it up. What made you hang your cleats up so early when you obviously, probably had an opportunity to play in the major leagues, or at least AAA, AA, or ever, everything goes?
Well, I was upset that I didn't get drafted, for one, and honestly, and I felt like I left it all on the field, and I got in a big fight with my dad about it. Big fight. He really wanted me to go the independent route and everything, and I just said, and I don't know, maybe I was a little tired of playing anyways, at that point, and so I just said, hey, this is gonna be, I don't want to do it anymore. I gave it my best shot. I feel good about giving it my best shot. So now I need to move on. I'm 22 years old. Now I need to move on and start the next chapter of my life. And I'm one of those guys where I think, as much as I love my baseball career and I got so many great stories and 1,000 great friends, I'm sure just like you and everybody else does, I don't want to just live in the past all the time. I wanted to, make a mark for myself moving forward. So I just, like I said, my dad was upset with me for not trying the independent route, but it's a hard journey, to get to the NBA or to Major League Baseball, and percentages are low. So I just decided I'm going to go from fully committing to baseball to fully committing to whatever's next in my life. And that happened to be learn it.
Okay. Well, I mean, that makes sense. I think, at least you knew, you're like, I'm going to, it's time. I think a lot of athletes, we kind of just hang on to be hanging on. And, we think we're immortal. So we think we're going to play 20 years. Yeah. And, and when it's like 5 or 6 or whatever case, we have no plan to figure out what it is that we're going to do. So like, at least you, like I said, you had a plan and you kind of figured out.
Well, I figured out my plan on the way. Now, maybe I gave up a little too early. I don't know. But, for all you athletes out there who can, if you can make a living out of it and you enjoy it, then that's okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I just don't want them to think that that's the only thing they can do.
Agreed.
And sometimes that's what happens, right? It's like, I can't do anything else, so I'm just going to continue to, try to piece it together. So that's not the case.
Mm-hmm. No, well, I when I had got my stress fracture in my shin and got another surgery, I had my second plate in my stress fracture in my shin.
Yeah.
I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I should have maybe retired at 27, but I played till I was like 33 just because I didn't know what was next for me. And so now I do want to get into, how did you create your company, and things like that. I want to kind of get into that for you.
Well, first of all, going back to what you had to say, 27 to 33, and we talked about this before we started recording, what an incredible experience you had. You played all over the world, and you learned all kinds of things. So I wouldn't be too hard on yourself for it. You know what I mean? You got something, Travis, that a lot of people could dream of, So, and now here you are doing whatever it is you want to focus on next. Going back to how I started my company, I didn't start my company. So my story is I was very fortunate. I came from a really successful family in real estate in San Francisco, one of the largest real estate companies in San Francisco. And my dad, this was the early 90s. He was a great entrepreneur. He started everything from a savings and loan to a Chinese restaurant and a shopping center, all kinds of things. And one thing that great entrepreneurs do is they learn to solve their own problems. And he wanted to learn how to take our real estate portfolio, our hotels and our apartment buildings, and digitize them, instead of keeping them on paper. And so he went and took a computer class, and he thought, long story short, he thought it was boring and slow. And so he called up a guy who was working at our savings and loan and said, I want to have a classes that are short, fun, and that anybody can afford, and like a community kind of stuff. And I just happened to be getting out of college. That's when my career ended. And I was intimidated. I didn't want to go work at our big real estate company. So I started as a receptionist, and I still have answered more phones than anybody. I started as a receptionist and kind of worked my way up. I taught classes. I did sales. I wanted to prove to everybody, Travis, that I wasn't just like handed something. I wanted to show them that I belonged. And I also wanted to prove to my dad that, things didn't work out in baseball. I kind of let him down there, but he was proud of me. But I wanted to be a successful business person like my dad and my grandfather. And so I worked really, really hard. And about 6 years into it, when the CEO wasn't working out and they were interviewing for a new CEO, I kind of threw my hat in the ring and I interviewed for the position along with several other people. And I just focused on the experience I had and everything and working at Learn It. And so I got the job, and I've been running Learn It for close to, 25 years or 23 years, been in business 28 years. And I'm super proud of it. I mean, Travis, we've trained over 2 million people over that time frame. So,
wow.
It's been a great journey, interesting, a lot of ups and downs and learning lessons and failures, but it's been a lot of fun.
Man, I didn't realize how many people that you did train. That's spectacular.
Thank you.
I think that's a great thing. And I wanted to kind of circle back on something you were saying earlier about athletes and how in sales, like we know how to work hard, we know how to go the extra mile, we know how to deal with different personalities, how to deal with a team kind of thing. And that is huge thing that translate, because like you said, a lot of athletes just think they're like, all I know is sports and that's it, but in your situation, in a lot of athlete situation, like you're teaching us to use our sports backgrounds into real world situations, which is great. It's great.
And that's one of the things I've always kind of done organically, and I've tried to get more involved with it later, is helping athletes, because they do have so much to offer. And I look at my current team as an example, and I just think that athletes can be very productive, and they need to believe in themselves and not think that their whole identity is being just an athlete, because a lot of those skills are transferable. It's just they got to put in the work just like they did playing sports.
No, you're right. 100% right. And I want to say, Damon, I want to say thank you, man. Like, thank you so much for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it, man. I learned so much, on the daily from you, but I really learned like your story and the journey,
Thanks, Travis.
for this interview. Now, I have one more question for you as far as, for an athlete's journey. And then like, please tell after the question, please tell everybody where they can find you and things like that. Cause I know so many athletes that would just need your expertise. So last question I'll always ask, everybody that comes on the show is like, at some point of our career or life or whatever, we all kind of go through low points. So as when you went through yours, how did you get out of it? Was it your family? Was it yourself? Was it all the above? How did you get out of those, serious low points in your career or your life?
Yeah, I think we all have peaks and valleys. And
Mm-hmm.
I would say for me, the biggest low point was when in about a span of a year, I think it was around 2009, the economy crashed. And so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my family's business went away, and my dad died of cancer, all within, it was an incredibly humbling experience. And how I got through that was mostly through family. I'm fortunate that I got a solid group I got a solid family and a great group of friends,
Mm-hmm.
and also kind of like, you know, I wanted to make sure that Learn It made it through. So I worked with the team that I had, and we all kind of bonded together to make it through a really challenging time. And I also just, even with losing my dad and everything, it's like I also realized how grateful I was to have everything I had, and a lot of people have it a lot worse. And so that kind of always kept my spirits up, in the sense that, hey, a lot of people never, I mean, there's hunger, there's all kinds of craziness out there, and so I'm just really fortunate to have everything I had. Keep up your, good attitude, and just kind of work through it. So that's just my advice, is that, be grateful for what you have. Realize there's people out there who have less than you have, and just do your best, and find people that believe in you. And whether you want to do therapy, which I believe in, is great, or you have a support network, but you got to go out there and find your support network, and go from there.
Makes a lot of sense. I think everybody needs, like you said, a support network to kind of, help you figure things out, either family, friends, therapy, whatever the case is. But like I
Totally.
said, I want to say thank you again, D. Please let the people know where they can find you, if they need help with, with everything you're doing, please.
Sure. Well, for one, you could find my book on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. It's called Learn It All Leader. My company website is learnit, LEARNIT.com. It's best to connect with me on LinkedIn, if you have a LinkedIn, at Damon Lembi. And if you do connect with me on on LinkedIn, send me a message, and I'll send you a free class, if you want to learn anything from Excel to, basic management class. I'm happy to do it. So connect with me on LinkedIn at Damon Lembi. So yeah.
Yes. Like I said, if you follow me on LinkedIn, please follow him, because like I said, he can really help you, open some doors for us former, not even just for former athletes, just for anybody, So, I'm like when I got introduced to him, I was like excited for what he's doing. And I just want to continue what you're doing, because it's great.
Thanks, Travis.
No problem. I'm gonna just I need to stop, because we can do this all day. But you can follow me at Travis W. Reed. That's REED, Travis W, on Instagram and Facebook. I post all my social media on that. I got my official Athlete's Journey page is up on Facebook now, so you can, I'll be posting about that as well. I also have a LinkedIn, Travis Reed, like I said, and if you're looking for Damon, he's one of my friends on there, so you can just type his name in on LinkedIn too. And as you can see, the merch is back. The Travis Reed and Athlete's Journey merch. I got to send Damon and D some shirts.
Don't forget.
Oh no, I promise you.
I want a shirt.
I'll definitely will send you some. They just message me or DM me, and I will, give me your address and all that. And like I said, I'll send you some merch as well. Want to say thank y'all for coming out. See you next week. Peace.